Welcome to Soundbreaker. In today's episode, we're talking to Fred Ranger, who is Vice President of Marketing and Communications at Lander. Thank you for joining us. And for our listeners who might not be familiar with you, could you please give us just a small introduction about yourself and what do you do before we really dive into it? I'm sure it's going to be a lovely and an interesting interview.
Sure thing. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Bob, for the invitation. Very happy to be joining your podcast. I'm a big fan, but in
Thank you.
terms of who I am, basically, I've been in the marketing, music, and technology industry for about 25 years now. And I started as a creator, as a musician back then, and really, really enjoyed my ride at producing music and making a lot of fun stuff in a band. But I decided at some point that I wanted to be to try the other side of music and working on the business industry. And it was a love at first sight. And I've been doing it since the 90s. And now I'm here today, now at Lander, and I'm vice president of marketing communication, like you said. So yeah, that's me. That's me today.
Amazing. Fred, can you take us a bit back, if we can go back a little bit in time, back to your teenage years? What started this whole thing with music, tech, and all of that? What really inspired you and ignite that interest to make you
Yeah.
take that path later on in life? Was it somewhere in the family or inspired by musicians or your mom, dad?
Yeah, I think you pretty know the story, Bob. So it's kind of always the same. You get inspired by somebody in your family or close
Always,
to you, and my
always.
dad was a drummer and a trumpet player, and I remember looking at some very very old photos of him with behind the drum, and I was always fascinated. And I was like, Dad, like, what? You're a musician? Because he was a businessman by then
Yeah,
when I was born. And he said, "Oh, you want to see something?" So we hopped on the car. We bought a drum, like literally a drum set on the spot. And we came back and he played a song. And I said, "That's it. I want to do it like my dad. I want to play music. I want
amazing.
to be in a band." And so we started sharing stories, and we even played together for a little while. And then I formed my own band, and yeah, got to discover the magnificent thing that is creating music. And also at the same time, I had a passion for content, creating stories and so on and so forth. So I started to document my band with a camera, whether it's a photo camera or video camera. I started to capture those stories, and there wasn't a lot of social media back then, so it was literally something that you would have to do a bit of arts and craft and edit your own stuff on VHS cassette and so on. So I got that bug really early on, and then I studied communication, and I was like, wow, okay, so this is the trifecta effect. So music, communication, and marketing and technology. That's what I want to do with my life, and I've been doing it so far.
Amazing. Let's dive into it. You've been recognized for your innovative strategies. Can you tell us about a specific one that, from all, your early career, and how did it boost your brand and got you really noticing who you are?
It's a very good question, because there's this moment in time where I was working at TELUS, a big telecommunication company in Canada, in Montreal. And I remember being very intrigued by social media. So my role was to do communication and marketing for TELUS, so just the traditional stuff. But there was this new thing back then in the 2010s, and it was Facebook, like Facebook and Twitter. And brands weren't really doing anything with it. It was more like,
That wasn't too long ago when you look
well,
at it. 210. It's like yesterday.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Sometimes it feels like ages. Now we're talking about AI and stuff. But yeah, so
Hmm.
back then I decided that maybe there's something to do for brands on there. And I imagine a campaign where we would actually ask people to turn their profile picture pink on Facebook. And today is completely, lame, because it's been done multiple times. But back then it was very innovative. And we
Yes.
thought that, maybe 50,000 people would do it, because we did have a good reach on that platform. In the end, a
Yes.
million people did it. So it was kind of a movement. So it was no longer just a marketing campaign. We kind of stopped marketing, and we started connecting with people. And that was basically highlighted by Facebook themselves. We got a call back then from Sheryl Sandberg. She said, "Hey, can we
Hmm.
use that example when we talk about how brands can leverage the social
Yes.
media platform moving forward?" So that was kind of my breakthrough. And then it got the attention of the higher ups at TELUS, and they're like, "You should give more money to the kid. I think he's doing some great stuff, bringing us more brand credibility and some conversions in the end."
Well, obviously, you helped to boost their brand and give them that recognition they needed. Now, what was the main hurdle when you started that campaign, Go Pink campaign? And how
Yeah.
did you tackle it to achieve this
Honestly,
impressive results?
yeah. I mean,
Sorry.
honestly, it was to convince people internally and externally that money that we were investing in building trust, basically, or building connections through social media, were actually even more useful and more interesting than just quick and dirty marketing campaigns. So it was to convince internally, talking to a CFO, talking to a CTO, CMO at the time, and just to tell them like, hey, give us a few weeks. Let us prove to you that this way of doing marketing is the way of the future. So that was a very hard part to do, but the way I was able to do it is by speaking the language very eloquently, depending on who I was talking to. So I didn't pitch the story the same way I did to the CTO, to the CMO, even to the CEO. So I really had, like, in the end, I think 14 versions of the same pitch, but
Uh-huh.
depending on who I was presenting it to, I was trying to tweak it so it made a story that made sense for the person listening to it.
Fred, you also worked for, at a time, tourism in Montreal.
Yes.
Yes. And how was that? How was that experience? What was really, and I know you worked on the campaign also for that.
Yeah, so this is a very great segue, because this all the stuff that I learned at TELUS, the failures and the successes, I could apply to Tourism Montreal all over again. I was in a more a leadership role at Tourism Montreal, and I was able to basically say, you know what, let's use the same approach and tap into something that is a movement more than a marketing tactic. So this is where, with the agency at the time that we were working with, we imagine a world where people would actually share their Montreal moments. So we called it MTL moments. And it was something that people were kind of doing, taking photos and sharing on Instagram and so on. But we gave them an extra reason to share. So we installed all across the city some big, big frames in strategic locations. And we asked people to share it with the hashtag. Again, today seems very basic, but back then hashtags were just starting to get popular on those platforms. And in the end, I think it's still kicking. It's alive and kicking today. The MTL Moments campaign. There's been some exhibition about it. It's been talked about in multiple, circles in terms of how to do marketing. So again, we were just tapping into new media and new ways
Mhm.
people would communicate, and it was way better than any full page ad in a magazine that they've been able to do, or that they were used to doing in the past.
Amazing. Amazing. I could see master classes in the future in marketing and branding, a book maybe.
Yeah, maybe a book. I mean, well, let's start with a zine and let's see where that leads.
Yeah, you were part of Stingray, buddies in Canada. Yes, Stingray, and you helped drive the substantial app downloads for their platform or their product also. What methods did you use to for that fast growth that the strategies you implemented for the fast growth, and what did you learn from that experience?
Yeah, it's a fascinating world. The world of music today. And when I joined Stingray as their VP of product marketing, the
Yeah,
goal was to literally create new segments, new business units. Like, we weren't really in the B2C space, so we weren't talking to the consumer directly. We were basically, our clients were Telefonica, Rogers, AT&T, and so on and so forth around the
correct.
world, providing them with music strategies for TV. But we wanted to operate a shift, or to grow our market presence by going to the consumer, and also including new mediums like free ad supported TV, which was kind of, again, new back then, just a couple years ago. So the way we did it is by hyper personalizing the approach and using all the new, just like I did in the previous two examples, all the new media that we could. So this is now, more TikTok, and also using some very precise user flow, depending on if you're coming from a Facebook ad, or if you heard from an influencer, and so on and so
Hmm.
forth. So we were able to create an environment where people could see the product without really feeling that you're being sold a product. And the good news, Bob, and I think you'll relate to that too, it's music. Like, I was waking up in the morning saying to myself and to my team, guys, we're selling music playlists. We're putting the artists at the forefront. How, it cannot get better than this for a marketer, because it's music is a universal language. So when you do it right, when you use the right medium, when you use the
Yes.
right tactics, it's fairly easy to convince people that they need more music in their lives. Funny stat, we did a little survey, And apparently 95% of people listen to music worldwide. So I'm wondering what the other 5% do. And I don't maybe want to talk to them.
Um, as an experienced leader, you developed that. Actually, you were becoming a seasoned leader. And how did you blend storytelling and really listening uh, to handle organizational issues effectively?
Yeah. So this is probably the one thing that I tell any of my current team members. And when I do conferences and so on and so forth, it might sound a bit cheesy to say storytelling because everybody now says storytelling when you talk about marketing and so on and so
Hmm.
forth. But I think if you start with a good story listening, because people are already talking about your product, your services, your album, your promotion, or your brand, if you do a good enough job at listening before you talk, before you tell your story, then you become more effective because you understand where your existing or potential customers are coming from, what are their pain points, their struggle. It's nothing new in terms of marketing, but the
Yeah.
mediums and the way to get the message out, they've been duplicated. I mean, at the end of the day, there's so many touch points that you could be using to tell your story. But for me, again, this is something I tell my team all the time. It's about consistency. It's about building that trust, and it takes time. You can't really just only always justify $1 in marketing by getting $2 the next quarter. In
Yes.
this day and age, in this economy, you have to build that trust, and it might take 2 quarters, 3 quarters, heck, even 12 months to build that trusty relationship. But then the lifetime value of that customer is
Hmm.
increasing because you get to keep your customer longer by telling them stories that resonates with them. And the good news is that they will give you feedback day in and day out through those same channels, whether it's social media or emails or interactive platforms or AI for that matter, forum where everybody's chatting right now. So for me, that's the power of storytelling is so important, but the power of story listening is probably more important even.
Yes. Always listening. Always listening. Now, obviously, that storytelling, based on that, you started a podcast on the visual storytelling. What inspired you to start this podcast, and what was the whole idea behind it? And using that title, I love the title.
Yeah, I think I'm a passionate storyteller and listener, but I know there's a huge community out there of people who have used storytelling, whether in art,
Yeah.
photography, filmmaking, marketing, and so on and so forth, that I was passionate to discover because I feel that when you hear other people tell their story, it
Hmm.
fuels your story, it fuels your own vision and your own critical thinking about how you should go about your work life, your personal life, and so on and so forth. So I would say this, Bob, I started this podcast because I think it's a good therapy to be just discussing, just like what you're doing right now.
Yes, it is
And
a good
it's
therapy. Yes.
exactly, maybe it replaced therapy sessions, but at the end of the day, I'm also a firm believer that in those type of exchanges, yes, I'm learning, you're learning, but if you put it out there, if you put the work out there, there are on these 8 billion people planet another individual that could benefit from listening to a conversation like the one we're having or the one I have on my visual storytelling podcast. And quite frankly, I am a selfishly, I'm a photographer, I'm a filmmaker, so I also wanted to meet inspired figures that I really admire. And guess what? I mean, I don't know if you can relate, but most of those people, if you ask them, hey, want to chat on my podcast, most of them will say yes. To
Yes.
my own surprise, when I started the podcast, I was just reaching out to all these inspiring figures, and a couple of them said no, but most of them said, yeah, sure, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what a great medium
Oh,
to be on
absolutely.
with podcasts.
Absolutely. I love doing it. It's pretty much, I never thought about doing it for money or fame or anything. It's a great way, I thought, of literally strengthening your network and learning. You learn so much every day. And people, I get so inspired. I interview people every day. I did an interview yesterday with a gentleman named, I'm sure you know him, the gentleman who bought, what is it, CD Baby, Tony
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
Van
yeah,
Vin.
yeah.
Yes, amazing guy, and who was also part of Disc Makers.
Yes,
Great visionary, a great business guy, a great leader, a great CEO, and amazing, amazing. And sometimes you're not surprised why people succeed and make it, and just to see their attitude and their outlook on life and business and how they handle things, and that's what's all about, really. Besides having a great mindset, that
yes.
driving, innovative and motivated mindset.
I agree. Completely agree.
Um, let's talk about AI and
Mhm.
machine learning and how's it transforming the music industry by itself, particularly in distribution, in production, artist engagement, and all of that. What's your take on it, Fred?
That is a big question right now, Bob, because it's on everybody's lips, right? So if you are involved one way or the other with music, you have to be living under a rock if you haven't heard about AI and how it's impacting the whole ecosystem. And it's not just music, as we know, it's every single aspect
Mhm.
of our society and all the industries that have been affected by it. I truly believe that we are actually in one of the most exciting times on the planet. I
Agreed.
guess I'm a very positive guy by nature, so I do see the
No, it
value in
is. It
having,
is. It
yeah,
is.
I do see the value of having a tool that's actually I think I believe even more in assistive AI than pure artificial intelligence. I see the benefits of artificial intelligence, but where I think it's making the most sense for the music community, it's when you develop tools that are assistive in the nature or the way that they are being used. So, I
Yes.
mean, I can give you the example at Lander where we've been developing assistive AI tools since 10 years ago, when it even way before it was cool to say AI and everything
You
you
guys
do.
the largest in the first
Exactly.
or the largest even in what do you call it?
The mastering.
In mastering. Yes, yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes,
AI
precisely.
mastering tool is a great, great in how should I say enhancement tool for artists and record label, especially independent artists.
Absolutely. And we've always been, we've got this motto of work for musicians, right? So everything we do, whether it's AI or not, we're putting a lens in our decision making process. Will it benefit the musicians? Will it benefit the user? And if the answer is no, we will actually take a look at it very seriously, even if there's money to be made, and we'll maybe reconsider that decision. If there is a better way, an ethical way, or a way to assist a creator in his creative journey, then this is where we get excited. And this is how we actually build an ecosystem of tools that are not replacing any of the artistry or any of the creative process. It's actually enhancing it. And that creator's block that we all have sometimes. I mean, I have
Absolutely.
so many things
Yeah.
in my iPhone that I started just a riff or anything like that. Well, what if there's a way to get you to releasing a song, for versus just having ideas in your phone. So that's the type of thinking that every day we do at Lander, and it leads to some great products like the AI powered mastering plugin that we have, or the online service that we have, but a plethora of other tools like our vocal plugins that are assistive and so on and so forth. And I cannot reveal everything on this show, but there are some very exciting stuff that are coming very, very soon. So I'm sure we'll be talking about that again shortly.
Yes, definitely. I mean, amazing, amazing invention. Yes, I look at it in my view, it's not replacement, it's an enhancement tool. And it's making life much easier and more accessible and giving artists, I think, more control of their destiny and their work and more handle on it. Like I gotta send my record to be mastered here, I gotta ship it. No, why you ship it? You could do it from the convenient of your bedroom or your living room or wherever you have your little studio at home. And hey, let me master my music. Okay, I paid for it, and it's done. That's it. In a matter of minutes, I don't have to ship it. I don't have to worry about somebody copying my record or making a copy of it or whatever. It's done. Boom. And what else you guys offer beside of that? You have the mastering, you have the distribution,
Yep.
and
We've got a learning platform, Bob, and this is probably again something that we've uh, designed in a way that if you are dreaming about making music but you don't know where to start, well, you get into that Lander ecosystem, and you've got some courses, literally, and some highly curated courses from a lot of various partners and our own original courses to help you get going. If you want to learn to play the guitar, you want to learn how to get on Spotify, you want to learn
wow.
about mastering and so on. So it's included in that subscription. So it helps you get to the next stage of your creative journey. So we're super excited about that one. It's picking up. It's fairly recent in the offering, but it's every week there's new content that's going on that platform, and people have been using it very heavily, and the feedback is so positive. So you get into that learning stage, but then you get a DAW, right? So everybody needs a DAW to produce music, or until further notice. I mean,
Sure.
DAWs were the way we record music. So
Yeah.
Ableton is in there. There's new ones coming up, and then you go into the plugin aspect of things. As we know, plugins are a big part of how you craft your sound, how you design something that's very, very unique. There are samples also that you get. There's actually 3 million samples that you get access to. They're all royalty free that you can, just right up there, just use them and put them in your song. We even have tools, assistive AI tools, to get all of these samples in the right BPM and so on and so forth. And then you get to the distribution phase, or mastering and distribution, where from that dream that you got to distributing on Spotify, so from dreaming to streaming in no time. So it's featuring yourself in that production without the help of anybody else, of a distributor or label or anything like that. And we're all for labels, but if you are an independent artist, there is a way to get you to Spotify or to Apple Music or any platform that you can do it yourself. And again, Lender's going to be there across the whole journey to help you get there.
Wow. So once an artist comes into Landers, he's not going nowhere. There's an ecosystem right there.
Yeah.
That's it. He is not going nowhere. He comes in, help learn how to produce, help them produce their music. Can they record their vocals too? Like, is there a studio there inside or no?
They sure can, because it's funny you ask, because we did buy a company called Synchro Arts 2 years ago, and they've got some of the best plugins for vocals out there, and you can actually record those vocals and have them align with Vocal Line. You can have them repitched. We have a product called Repitch, and you can. It's like a mini DAW for vocals, basically. So you can have them sound perfectly all the time, and it's all integrated again with the rest of the ecosystem. So Bob, it's about giving value to the user. You were asking me, how I've been able to build great relationship with potential customers and existing customers. Well, it's about the value. I'd like to think that a company like Lander, we're so focused on giving value back to our musicians, to our users, that, to your point, it's then hard to say, you know what, maybe I go outside of the platform and I get all of these products individually. Well, you can do that. But if you want a simple solution, if you're not necessarily interested by the technical aspect of things, I guess Lander is your best way to go. And we even have a collaboration platform built in, Bob. So it enables people to collaborate on a song through a mobile app or through the desktop app. So
collaborate with other artists, your producer, or anybody that needs to review your song, contribute to your song. You can even actually record live in the DAW through that. We call it Lander Sessions product. So again, it's really an ecosystem that's based on giving value back to the user. So to your point, once you're in the ecosystem, it's pretty hard to not see the value of having something like Lander in your life as an artist. Well, call it instead of social media, we call it the social studio.
There you go.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know if I can ask this or not, but if it's confidential, it's all right. From what you're telling me, it's really exciting and inspiring for a lot of these independent artists, and gives them more empowerment. And that's what artists really need now. How many users does Lander have? If it's confidential, it's all right. Yeah. We'll go to the next one.
No worries. I mean, we've worked with millions of users over the years.
Amazing.
Some of them are very, very known, and we actually were very public about it. We've got artists that are just starting out, so it's a mix of both. Our target market, Bob, is really the aspiring producer, right? So the people who are playing music, they don't necessarily know how to record themselves or to get distributed. Well, there's a lot of them out there. A lot of artists that are just, they don't have all the tools, they don't have the money to go in an expensive studio and so on and so forth. So again, we've worked with millions of users, and every month there's new users coming to our platform. So I hope this general answer helps.
Oh, it's amazing. I'm impressed. I'm really impressed. I love it. In your role as a man, leader, and in managing kind of upper management, what do you focus on when you create collaborative and innovative team vibe? Like, how do you put it all together?
Yeah, I love this question. When I started my career, there was some very inspiring leaders that
Yes.
told me something that really stuck with me. And it was as simple as saying, you know what, at the end of the day, you are the person that will make people believe that they can accomplish something bigger than them individually. So if you start with that, mindset of assembling people that have different expertise, different types of personalities, different ways to look at work, life, and everything around it, then you're going to benefit from them. It's not about being the smartest guy in the room. It's not about being the the dictator in the room. It's quite the opposite. I like to say I work for my employees. Like I work for my team. I'm the enabler. I'm the one who's trying to remove any roadblocks that they might have. I'm also the one who can guide them because I've made a lot of mistakes and I've had a few successes. So I can share that along the way. So the role of being a leader, especially in an environment where it's super competitive, is to really make your team understands that they can accomplish anything. There's absolutely no limit to creativity, to greatness, to product, to marketing, to anything you're doing, really. So it's part motivation or being a motivator, but it's also somebody who can guide, the boat when you see that, you know what, the team is maybe not going the right direction. But it's not about telling people what to do. It's about, giving them a reason.
You've been around the music business for a while. You part of the growth in technology, marketing, branding. You've been doing it for a long time. You develop a sense of kind of, to be ahead of the curve sometime. And I wouldn't say a crystal ball, but yes. What's your vision, you would think, in regards to music distribution? And, you remember back in the day where they're physical, so much money was involved, not just in sales, just in terms of the actual structure, the stores, the employees, the factories, shipping companies, and all of that, real estate, everything. Boom, vanished. No trace of it. Nothing. If I ask my daughter, a record store, what's a record store, Dad?
Yeah.
If I even ask the youngest one, she's like, what's a vinyl? What's a cassette? What's a CD? So, nothing lasts forever. And now we're entering that era, a new era. Some of us like it, some of us don't. There will be changes, obviously shockwaves, but new jobs get created every time. New ways of living, new adaptation, new things to study. Always. It opens the door for new kind of entrepreneurial mindset and ventures and capitalism and all of that. What's next on distribution? Do you think that the way we consume content, is it going to last long, or there will be a change 5 years from now? With AI being involved, with metaverse and virtual reality, mixed reality, all of that.
Yeah. I at the end of the day, I think there's one thing that will never change, Bob, and I'm pretty bullish about it. It's about music is about shared experiences. How we experience music might evolve. How we consume, to your point, music will evolve, and it's already evolving. And it has evolved since, the vinyl and the cassette and the CDs and the distribution model.
Yeah.
And the show producer, there used to be a big table where, label had 17 people. Everybody had a very specific role.
Yes.
And today we've got people in their bedrooms making a hit on Spotify and not needing, all of these guys. So I'm not saying that the industry is doomed to failure. Quite the opposite. I think the industry, if it's clever enough, it will adapt to those new trends, those new ways of consuming content. But sharing the experience, listening to music, whatever the form, whatever the format, I think this will stay. And you talked about storytelling. A song is a story. And we've been telling stories since the beginning of time. Yeah. So this is not going away also either. Again, how we get there, how we compose the lyrics, how we make it match with a song or an ensemble of instruments, this will evolve, and it's already being impacted, to your point, by AI right now. Where I'm going back to my previous comment, I see a world where AI enables more creator, like we've seen in the photography space, or like we've seen in other arts space. I think AI enables more people to get in more easily. It doesn't mean that everything that will be produced will be good. But at the end of the day, ultimately, the listeners will be the ultimate decider on if they like it, if they don't like it, or if they want a different type of experience. You talked about Web3, you talked about experiences, like just what's happening at the Sphere right now in Vegas.
Yes.
This is music, and this is experiential, and this is something that hasn't been quite done.
And I think this is what's going to be the new way. Yes, experiential. That's what I was leading to. And you said it, experiential. Yes. Yeah. This is where the new way of, I think, going to be consuming content, whether it's visual content, movies, music videos, or video audio. And I think the young users, the younger generations. I think they are a little bit bored just listening to music, just,
Hmm.
choose a song. I think they want to be part of that. They want to experiential. They want to have that experience. And that's why the gaming industry is shot through the roof and pretty much past the music business. That's why Roblox became a global phenomenon. And that was, I think, the beginning of experiential, where being part of that experience. And that's where virtual reality, metaverse, and the metaverse been around, but we never called it. We never said metaverse. Just, oh, it's a Roblox. You can work, play with others and be part of that, and the music and the whole thing. And now I think the music business will have to be part of it. But yes, I think that's will be the new technology. I think streaming, it'll be done differently. The word streaming, I don't know, we'll use streaming, or maybe you'll use the word experiential. Maybe that'll be the new word. It'll be used for listening to music. But absolutely correct. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and there will always be artists. That's also something I'm very
Yes. Oh yeah.
bullish on,
Yes.
and pretty sure that the artists will want to create. Again, the way
Listen,
they get to the end product, I'm
yes.
ready to go with the
Listen, when
flow on that one.
YouTube came out, it
Yeah.
created so many artists, so many new, social media celebrities, actors having their little skits, comedy skits, singing, shows, podcasters, motivators, speakers, innovators, and all of that. And then TikTok came in, and you had a new wave of new artists just appeared out of nowhere, new talent from all over the world, whether it's in acting, it's in singing, dancing. You've seen it. So yes, every new technology will bring in new wave of talent. Yes, absolutely. A new wave of jobs, experiences, all of that. For our listeners, Fred, and our viewers, obviously, once they watch this episode, they're gonna get inspired by your story, your philosophy. How did you even created your own path in life in the music business? It's all about carving your own path and making a mark. What advice you have out there? I know you're a speaker, you're a motivator, you have your own podcast on YouTube and other platform like myself. What advice you will have for people who will be inspired by your story and they want to take the same path, do's and don't. And as we all know, especially the music business, there's a lot of gatekeeping in it. So how to avoid these things?
Yeah, I would say three things basically. The first one is find something you're passionate about. For me, was those three things: so marketing, music, technology, and if you're really serious about it, read everything you can. Talk to as much people as you can. Heck, start a podcast like Bob and I did, and start, get chatting with people who are
Yes.
probably more intelligent than both of us combined. But at
Yes.
the end of the day, just keep being hungry about learning about your craft. Then do things. And this sounds very basics, but you can be in your room or in your office thinking about stuff and strategizing and so on and so forth. But the only way to grow as a leader is to make stuff and to try stuff and to fail fast, fail forward, and learn from these experiences. Again, all of that is very cliche, but there's a reason why it's cliche. It's because it's true. It's the only way
Yes.
to learn. And third is surround yourself with people that are experts and people that know what they're talking about. And sometimes it'll feel uncomfortable because you won't get exactly what they're talking about, but then you're going to start connecting the dots. And this is where I think a true leader stands out, is somebody who
Yes.
can, first of all, reverse engineer people. So understanding how people think, how people, what are they driven by? Not all of your team members or employees will be driven by the same thing. So get to know them on a personal level. It'll help you on the work side of things too, because guess what? It's the same way to talk to users or clients or existing or potential clients. You have to reverse engineer how they think, what they do, and what they're driven by, because marketing, quite honestly, is more about connecting than anything else. And technology, it's about connecting the dots between a lot of different complex things and making it simple for the users. So those would be kind of my three things that you should be on the lookout. And I'll add a bonus one. I'll throw in a bonus one. There's a lot of people that will see the glass half empty. I would say this: if you are one of those, I probably don't want to be surrounded by you in my garde rapprochée, like we say in French, in my close people. Well, you want to know why? Because I want to talk about the benefit of ice. How can we, even in a sometimes shitty world, and there's a lot of shitty things happening in the world right now, but if you keep positive and you surround yourself with positive people, good things will happen. Again, I'm not some kind of guru. It's just based on true experience and positivity. I think it's lacking right now in the world, in the music industry, in the world, and everybody would benefit from being more positive and surrounding yourself with more positive people. That's one of my bonus tips out there.
Amazing, amazing. Definitely well worth listening to, and extremely insightful and inspiring. So you were saying stay innovative and stay curious, because when you're curious, that's how you become innovative. Always don't 100%. Be afraid of that. Yes. Anything that we should mention before we wrap up this inspiring, motivational, interesting, and informative interview with Fred Ranger? Anything you would like to mention that Lander's coming up with in the next month or two, this summer? Something to look for, any new, for our users, listeners, artists that they want to use Lander or just heard of it, or they want to go and say, hey, I want to try them. Anything new that you'd like to mention, and new components, functions?
Yeah, so great timing, because right now I don't know when this episode will drop, but
we'll drop it quick. We'll drop it quick.
Cool. So then there's a summer sale going on. So if you want to, there's never been a better time to try Lander. It's actually up to 45% off if you want to try the platform. But jokes aside, I would really invite everybody to stay tuned, because we are about to release very impactful and meaningful tools. And, I think you can imagine what type of tools they will be, because I talked about assistiveness and assistive AI so much that, again, we are the company that can go to the market and say, hey, we've been in this business for 10 years. We understand how the user think. We understand how a user could benefit from these tools. So again, I would invite you to stay tuned, because we are about to release some very interesting things in the market. But if you can't wait until then, please go on our platform. There's the Learn platform that's actually free for a couple of courses now. And actually, we have community channels. And I think this is where it's the best way to start communicating with some of your peers, some other musicians, but also us. We are in there chatting with you and just engaging the conversation. So those are all free, and those are on Lander.com.
Amazing. Lander.com. It's going to be that social studio. I'm telling you, you get in there, you're not going nowhere. They want to get everything. You'll be provided. Soon they'll have...
you'll get a lot of value. I promise.
Absolutely. Yes. 45% sale. I'm just going to sign in myself, actually.
Well, there you go.
Fred, I was going to say thank you very much. Really appreciate joining us today. And, this concludes today's episode of Soundbreaker. And please make sure to follow us on socials and stay tuned for new episodes. Fred, have a great and wonderful day, my friend. I really was an honor having you today. And as always, stay curious and stay innovative. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to share the Soundbreaker podcast. And if you are joining us on YouTube, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Until next time.